I'm going to risk making myself look like an idiot just for the fun of it. And I'm going to predict that if Trump wins, there will indeed be a woke backlash. And I think what will happen is people like Gavin Newsom will become like heroes of the resistance who
Y-
are motivated to go farther than they ever would have because Trump will be seen as evidence of the utter racism and depravity of the American system. And I think you generally get a thermostatic reaction. I mean, you would get it if it were Mitt Romney or Barack Obama, but I think that thermostatic reaction is much larger when you get somebody who's as divisive as Trump and whom so many elites struggle to explain, right? They can't even fathom him, right?
Well,
It's just,
another,
yeah,
another that's interesting. And another point to consider, again, this is just sort of a rumor I've seen circulating on Twitter, is that tech is leaning less Democrat than it
yes,
was in the previous cycles. I don't know. That presumably refers to the leaders of the companies and
yes, that's
the
right. Not
senior
the
people within the
employees.
companies, not the rank and file.
Yeah.
But that could be a major factor insofar as the tech companies control a lot of the discourse, and they set the algorithms and so on that determine what people see and what gets promoted.
That's also a very fair point, and certainly that Elon owns, Twitter and runs it according to a different set of rules certainly than the prior regime
Yeah,
there.
very
The
different. And
yeah, the
also, Mark Zuckerberg now claims he's a libertarian, and he's
yes.
he's dressing like a rapper.
Yes, he has had a rebirth as some kind of new citizen, as it
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
I guess what I would say quickly on so I agree with that, and that I do think we have to take that is something important I'd have to think through. I do think some of this is actually just like calculated for economic interest.
Mm.
I mean, it's worth noting that many people endorsed Trump at the apogee of his campaign, namely right after the first assassination attempt, when he was still running against an absolutely senescent
Mm.
and therefore doddering Biden, who was
Mm.
losing, who I think Silver's model had Biden at like 15%, but like
Oh, wow.
Silver thought it might maybe it was 30. It was well below 50, much
Mm.
below Harris, and Silver even contended that it was probably lower than that because the model couldn't, it didn't consider like this guy's utterly incapable of campaigning, right? So
Yeah, I
it's
remember a lot of
not
people saying on Twitter, like, Trump has won now after
yeah,
those
yeah.
photos of him pumping his fist went viral.
Yes, I remember even like reasonably sober-minded people posting that with the tag "the election is over."
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thankful I never joined in that exuberance because I've seen enough that I'm like, yeah, politics cycles, in a week. You look back and you're like, man, that seems like it happened a year ago. But yes, people were doing that. So it's not surprising that people who have a lot of economic interests involved in this would be like, you know what? Looks like this guy's probably going to win. And I would like, and especially important when you have somebody who's is fickle and oriented towards fidelity to himself and could actually punish you if you win
Yeah.
against him. Like he talked about punishing Zuckerberg and Facebook, for
Mm.
example. It makes sense that people would endorse him when he has an 85-90% chance of winning.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. But that also speaks to a, risk aversion on their part
Yes,
that one might not have seen in the exuberance of the Great Awakening, i.e.,
that's
that
true.
even if Trump loses, which he may do,
Right.
they're unlikely to say, "All right, he's out of the picture.
Yeah.
Now let's crank the algorithm back up and start promoting all the same woke talking points as before."
Yeah, that's true. And that's a good point. And to be clear, just so I don't get some comments on this one, I think voting for Trump may have beneficial consequences for other issues, immigration, et cetera. And I'm not saying that it would be better if you're a conservative actually to vote for Harris. I wouldn't make that claim. I think that's a complicated claim. I do think, and I will predict, that there will be a resurgence of wokeism if Trump wins. That's my only
One
prediction.
final issue